Hello everyone, welcome to this course, Natural Language Processing, in short NLP, using Java programming language. So by the way, my name is Dinesh Krishnan, I'm a software developer and technology consultant. Okay, what exactly we're going to learn? We're going to learn how to set up the project in order to use the NLP as part of our application. And apart from that, we're going to leverage some of the concepts that are available in the NLP, such as tokenization, sentence split, parts of speech, lemmatization, the natural entity recognizer, in short people used to call this NER, then the famous topic called sentiment analysis, which can be used many use case in the real world application. And finally, we're going to develop the API with the NLP using Spring Boot application. So throughout this tutorial, I'm going to use the library called Stanford NLP, which is actually open source and freely available under some terms and conditions. So there are a lot of things to cover. Let's quickly begin. We're going to learn how to set up the project to use NLP for our application, right? So in order to do that, I have my IntelliJ IDE with me. Just create the new project. Now you have to select the option called Maven project. Is of course we're gonna make it as Maven projects. Just simply give next. So you have to select your group ID. I'm gonna select the group ID actually com.Dinesh Krish, and then artifact ID actually going to be NLP, right? So I'm gonna give next again. I'm gonna name this project actually NLP example, right? So that will be saved in this location. So you can change it if you want. Give finish. Now you can see the project actually got created. It is actually showing the POM XML. As part of this tutorial, we're going to use the Stanford NLP library. So obviously we have to add those Maven dependency to our project. So how to do that, right? So go to your POM XML, right? You have to include something called dependency. In the dependency, you have to add one dependency called dependency. I'm going to call that group ID actually edu.stanford.nlp. The artifact ID for this one, it's going to be Stanford core NLP, right? So what is the version? So the version for this one, it's going to be, so as part of this tutorial, we'll be using the latest version, the version actually called 3.9.2, right? So once this dependency is added, you have to add one more dependency called dependency. I'm going to call the group ID actually going to be same, edu.stanford.nlp. okay, the artifact is going to be again same. So I'm going to say Stanford core NLP. Again the version would be same, version equal to 3.9.2, right? Once that is done, you have to add one more tag called classifier. In the classifier, you have to mention this is actually models, right? So once that is done, just simply import everything. So that will actually download all the dependency from the internet, and then it will put it inside your project. So once everything is done, so we can actually start developing the application. We just created the project and added the core NLP library into our application, right? So before going to leverage all the features available in the core NLP, we have to set up the pipeline by loading appropriate properties. Let's see how to do that in our application. So go to your application. I'm going to create new package called com.dineshkrish.nlp. That's a package. Inside this package, what I'm going to do, I'm actually going to create one more class called pipeline, right? The class called pipeline. So here we're going to create a Stanford core NLP pipeline by loading appropriate property, right? So I want this particular object to be created only once, so I'm going to do the singleton implementation, right? Because we're going to use this object throughout our application. But whenever we need to load a property for any feature, we can actually come here and then load a property. We can get only one object throughout this application, right? So to do that, what I'm going to do, I'm actually going to make one private static variable, private static. I'm going to call Stanford core NLP. Obviously that's going to return Stanford core NLP. I'm creating two more private static variable called properties from Java .NLP package, then private static string. I'm gonna say what, the properties name, right? You can mention what, the property annotator for each and every field. As of now, so I'm gonna leave it as empty, right? I'm going to make this particular class constructor as a private so that we can't really create an object, right? So I'm gonna make private pipeline. So obviously the object cannot be created because we have a private constructor. So I'm going to introduce one more method called public static. I'm going to call this method actually what, get pipeline. So which is going to return what, Stanford core NLP. I'm going to call this is actually what, get pipeline, right? So I'm going to say if the pipeline Stanford core NLP a reference variable is equal to null, then what I want to do, I just want to what, create an instance for that equal to new Stanford library. If you look at it, what, this particular thing actually what, takes Stanford core library. This actually what, takes the property as an argument. So you can actually what, pass a property. I'm going to pass what, the property that we have, right? So then I'm going to return what, the Stanford core NLP. So what is the logic here? Whenever we call this get pipeline method, if that is a null, I'll be creating what, a new object, right? Then I'll be returning that object. If it is not null, this line would be skipped, and then we'll be returning the same object again to make sure what, we are getting always one object. So that is actually what, kind of a typical singleton implementation, right? So that is actually done. So here what I'm going to do, I'm going to actually introduce what, the static block. So where I want to what, load all the annotator into this property, right? So to do that, what I'm going to do, properties equal to new properties. I'm going to pass what, I'm going to do what, properties dot set property. The property name is going to be what, annotators, right? Then I'm going to pass what, property names, right? So we will actually what, as of now what we did actually what, we created the pipeline with a singleton descent pattern. So we'll be calling this pipeline throughout our application by loading what, appropriate property based on the feature. We just created what, the pipeline with a singleton descent pattern. So we can use this particular Stanford core NLP object throughout our application. Now let's quickly understand how to tokenize the given string using what, the core NLP. Right? So to do that, what I'm going to do, I'm going to simply create a new class called tokenize example, right? I just created what, a new class. I'm going to introduce what, the public static void main method, psvm public static void main. So now what we have to do, of course, we have to get the pipeline, right? So if you look at it, we're trying to perform the tokenize operation. So before actually what, get the pipeline, so what we have to do, we have to pass the appropriate property to perform what, tokenizing operation. So to do that, we have to pass the property called what, tokenize as an annotator, okay, to what, our core NLP class, right? So we actually what, did that part. So what I'm going to do, pipeline dot get pipeline method, which is going to get us what, the singleton pipeline object. Stanford, it's going to return what, the Stanford core NLP, the reference variable. So now we actually what, will get what, Stanford core NLP instance here. What I'm going to do, I'm going to create what, the simple text, right? So I'm going to say what, text equal to very simple string variable, simple text, right? That's going to contain this is Dinesh Krishnan, right? So I just want to what, perform the tokenization for this particular string, right? Let me add a few content. I'm going to say what, hey, this is Dinesh Krishnan, right? So now you probably know how to do what is the tokenization. So that's actually what, this is the string we have. We're going to actually what, cut the string as what, each and every word. This is very important process in order to what, do any sort of core NLP operation, because with the word only what, the core NLP can understand what exactly the each and every word and how to what, take a decision, right? So that's very important. So that's what, we are just, started with the tokenization. So now what we have to do, so I have to create the document. So to create the document, core document equals to new core document, which actually takes string as an argument. We can pass our text we have, right? So now we created what, the core document. So now what I'm going to do, I got this object, right? So in this object, what I'm going to do, I'm going to call the method called annotate, which is actually not going to return anything. I'm going to pass what, the core document that we have. So we have a core document, I'm passing that core document. I am actually asking my pipeline, hey pipeline, I have a document, the document contains some text, could you annotate? Actually what, that is what, my exact point it is. So that is going to what, annotate. Once that is done, what I'm going to do, a core document dot, we have a method called what, the tokens method, right? If you call the tokens method, that is going to return you what, the list of code label, right? So now you can actually what, store them in the reference variable called list of code label, right? I'll call it as what, code label list. Let me import it from what, Java.title package, that is called imported. Now what I'm going to do, obviously I'm going to what, iterate this list in order to print what, the tokenized string, right? So to do that, what I'm going to do, for code label list, so obviously that's going to return what, code label object, right? So code label, so I'm going to save this one, code label reference variable. Let me simply what, sys out the code label. I'm going to call what, original text. So whatever text you have, just pass it. So let's quickly run this example. We'll see what is going to happen, right? Now you can see what, the given text is actually A, this is Dinesh Krishnan. We have what, A, then exclamation mark, this is Dinesh Krishnan. The string is actually tokenized with help of what, core NLP. We just written what, the simple tokenizing example using what, the core NLP library, right? For the given string. So in this example, we're going to understand how to perform a sentence recognizer using what, core NLP for a given string. Let's quickly see how to do that, right? Let me actually what, create a new class. I'm going to create a new class called, I'm going to call this class actually what, sentence recognizer, right? So I'm going to introduce what, public static void main, obviously. So let me actually call what, the pipeline dot get pipeline, right? I'm gonna do what, Stanford core NLP, gotta store it in what, the reference variable. We got actually what, the Stanford core NLP class, right? So before going to perform that, right, we have to enable one annotator or property in the property string, right? So to do that, what you have to do, just add a comma space, you have to add the another annotator property called SS split. This is nothing but what, we'll used to call it a sentence split property in the core NLP, right? So with this property only, your pipeline can understand how to perform a sentence recognizer for a given string, right? So once you have to enable this one. So once that is enabled, obviously what, we got this object. So we'll be getting this pipeline. So here what I'm going to do, I'm going to create what, simple text. The text is going to contain, hey, I am Dinesh Krishnan, right? I'm a software developer and consultant, right? I have a simple sentence, right? I have two sentences. I have totally three sentences, hey, I am Dinesh Krishnan, then I'm a software developer and consultant, right? So that is a sentence. Now let's quickly see our core NLP can recognize it or not, right? To do that, what I'm going to do, core document equal to new core document. I'm going to pass what, the text that we have, obviously that is passed. So here Stanford core NLP dot, I'm going to do what, annotate, right? I'm going to pass the core document that we have, core document. Here in the core document, what I'm going to say, a core document, I just want you to give me what, the sentence. If you look at it, there is a method called what, sentence, which is going to give you what, list of core sentence object, right? You can actually store them in the list of core sentence object. I'm going to call it as what, sentences, right? Let me import this particular list class from Java.title package. Okay, that is done. Let me quickly what, do the iteration over what, the sentence list, right? So that's going to return what, core sentence. I'm going to simply what, print the sentence, system.out.println sentence dot original sentence dot toString, right? That's going to be what, sentence dot toString. Let me quickly run this example. We'll see whether the sentence recognizer is happening or not. Cool, our core NLP can able to what, split the sentence for a given string. We're going to understand how to perform the parts of speech using what, core NLP, right? So to do that, we already created what, the pipeline instance, right? So here we're going to enable what, one of the property called POS, that is called what, parts of speech. Once that is enabled, I'm going to create what, the new class. I'm going to create the class called what, POS example, right? The parts of speech example. So obviously I'm going to introduce what in the public static void main. Here we need to get a pipeline, right, to perform what, the parts of speech, right? So to get the pipeline, Stanford core NLP. So this instance can be get it by using what, get pipeline method, right? So once that is done, obviously I'm gonna introduce what, few string. I'm gonna say that, hey, I am Dinesh Krishnan, right? So very simple statement. So now we have to feed this particular string into what, the code document. So to do that, code document equal to new code document, pass the text that you have, right? So once the code document is actually created, we have to annotate this code document with what, the pipeline. So how to do that? Stanford core NLP dot annotate. You have to pass what, the code document, right? In the code document, so what we're going to perform, we're going to perform the parts of speech, right? So what I'm going to do, I'm going to call a method called what, document, code document dot, there is a method called tokens, which is going to give you what, the tokenized string, right? So that is going to return you what, the list of code label. So here, code label list, right? So let me import it from java.turtle package. So that is actually what imported. Now what exactly I'm going to do, I'm going to perform what, so the iteration over what, the core library list. So far core label list, so it's a core label, right? So every time I'll get a core label from the list. So what I'm going to do, actually what, I'm going to perform the parts of speech, right? So to do that, what I have to do, core label dot get, there is a method called get. Here you have to pass what, the exact annotation, right? Annotation class. So what is annotation class? Core annotations dot, so there is annotation class called what, parts of speech annotation, right? If you pass this, that is actually going to give you what, the parts of speech string, that you can actually hold it in what, the POS string if you want. What I'm going to do, I'm going to print what, this POS along with the label string. So to do that, core label dot original text plus equal to plus, I'm going to say what, POS that we found, right? Let me quickly run this program. We'll see what is going to happen. Here we go. Now you can see what, the parts of speech is generated for the given string, right? So what exactly this UH, PRP, then VBZ, VBP, then NNP, what is this? This is nothing but what, the parts of speech concept. So if you want to know, if you want to understand what exactly that symbol represent, I can actually what, show you. Let me create what, the new file. In the resource, I'm going to create a file called what, info of POS. Let me paste the content that I have. You can see that this is the exact representation of what, the parts of speech. So okay, for now what we have, let's consider what, Dinesh. The Dinesh actually what? NNP, right? So what is the NNP exactly? NNP, if you look at it in the given a list, you can see what, it's a proper noun. Obviously it's a proper noun. Dinesh again, it's a proper noun, right? When you take what, I, what is I? I is actually what, PRP. What do you mean by PRP? It's a personal pronoun. This is nothing but what, parts of speech. This can be used in many use cases in a real-time application. We're going to learn how to implement what, lemmatization in the core NLP, right? So to do that, first of all, what you have to do, you have to enable certain property in our pipeline object, right? So the property called lemma. So once that is done, I'm going to create what, the new class called lemma example, right? So before going to write example, before we going to perform this program, let's quickly understand what is exactly the lemmatization. See, for example, whenever we pass any particular word, this lemmatization is the process which is going to identify the root word of that particular word, right? So let's see the example. You will quickly understand what exactly this lemmatization is going to do for us, right? So I'm going to introduce what, public static void main introduced, right? So Stanford core NLP, get that object using what, the pipeline, get pipeline, right? So I'm gonna actually create a text. So I'm gonna create the text called I am trying to learn new technologies, right? So that's our word, right? So obviously we have to create the document. So document, to do that, core document equal to new core document, just pass what, the text that we have, right? So now what I have to do, core document dot, I have to what, get the tokens, right? So the tokens actually written what, the list of core label. You can actually store them in the reference called list of label. I can call what, core label list. Let me import this list from what, the Java.little package. Once that is done, I'm gonna what, iterate this core label list. That is going to give you what, the core label, right? Core label. So what exactly I'm going to do, I'll be getting what, the core label. So that is nothing but what, we'll be getting the token, right? I am trying to learn new technology. So everything will be tokenized, then it will be stored in what, the core label. So what we're going to do, we're going to perform what, the lemma, right? So to do that, what I'm going to do exactly, so I'm going to do what, string lemma equal to, I'm going to call what, core label dot lemma, right? So that's a lemma. So now I'm going to do what, system.println, I'm going to send what, core label dot original text. Then along with that, I'm going to pass what, the lemma that we have, right? Now let's quickly run this program. We'll see what is going to happen. Now if you look at it, we got what, the null pointer exception. So now what is the reason in the sense, right? We have this code document. We have to annotate this code document in the pipeline, right? We actually missed that step. So Stanford.core NLP annotate, just pass what, the code document. Let me simply what, run this example again. We'll see whether it's working properly or not. Here we go. Now we got what, the lemmatization output, right? If you see the output, you will clearly understand what exactly the lemmatization. Now if you look at it, the trying is the word. What is the root word of the trying? It's a try. The technology is another word. What is the root word of the technology? Is a technology, right? So that is actually what, the lemmatization. We're going to understand how to perform the NER, named entity recognizer, using what, core NLP library, right? So to do that, what I have to do, first we have the pipeline object, right? We have to enable the property called NER, named entity recognizer. Once that is done, let me create what, the new class called NER example, right? The class is actually created. I'm going to introduce what, the public static void main method. Once that is done, obviously I'm going to call what, now the Stanford core NLP, this object instance can be getted by using what, get pipeline. We got that. The pipeline actually enabled what, NER property with NER property, right? That's done, right? So now I'm going to introduce the text call, text equals, I'm going to say hey, my name is Dinesh Krishnan and I have a friend, his name is Robert, right? We both are living in New York, right? So now I have a string which says what, hey, my name is Dinesh Krishnan, I have a friend, his name is Robert, we both are living in New York City, right? Now if you look at it, how many person name you can see, right? You can see what, Dinesh Krishnan is one person name, Then Robert is what, another person name. Okay, how many city you can find? You can find what, New York is one city. Now you have to write a program to identify how many names available, how many cities available. In the sense, the NER is the best option, right? So to do that, let's follow this step. Now code document equal to new code document. I'm going to pass what, text that we have. Obviously we have to annotate this one, Stanford NLP code NLP dot annotate. I'm going to pass what, the code document that we have. Once that is done, so what I'm going to do, I'm actually going to what, get the token, right? So to get the token, what I can do that, list of the token actually going to give what, list of label, right? So the list should be from java.little package. Once that is done, I'm going to call this actually what, code labels equal to. So I'm going to get it from the code document.tokens, which is going to give you the code labels. Once that is done, I'm going to do what, iteration over the code labels. So that is actually going to give us what, code label instance, code label. Alright. So here what I'm going to do, I'm going to perform what, the NER. To perform the NER, what exactly you have to do, I'm going to do what, string NER equal to, I'm going to say code label dot get. I'm going to pass what, the annotation class, code annotations dot the class actually called what, named entity tag annotation. Pass that class, which is going to give you what, the particular NER for the each and every token, right? So now what I'm going to do, I'm simply going to what, print the actual text can be printed using what, original text. Along with that, I'm going to print what, the NER that we found, right? Let me quickly run this program. We'll see what is going to happen. Here we go. Now we got what, the output. It says what, it says clearly says that the Dinesh is actually what, person. The Krishna is actually what, person. Actually what, if you look at it, the New York is actually what, state of province, right? Which is completely meaningful. Now you can see what, Robert is person. We have 3 person and then we have what, 1 province, right? Let me actually what, quickly change this string. I'm going to change it as what, Berlin, right? Let me run this. We'll see what is going to happen. Here we go. Now the Berlin is city. It's not what, the state. I mean the state of province. That's what, we got a city as an output. Now we can see that in a given string, we can find what, 3 person name. So obviously Dinesh is 1 person, another Krishna is another person. Obviously this is both together. It's a person name. And then we have one more thing called what, the Robert, right? We have 3 person name and then 1 city available. This is actually called what, NER. This can be used in many use cases in our real world application. Consider you are building the chatbot. In the chat to your chatbot, the customer says that, hey, this is John. In the sense, your chatbot has to respond, hello John. Now how are we going to extract the John name from the given string? So the best option is what, the NER. We're going to learn how to perform a sentiment analysis in Java using Core NLP library, right? So the sentiment analysis is nothing but, based on the text or paragraph or sentence, the NLP can predict that, what sentiment behind it. When I say what, the sentiment, for example, consider you are saying that I like apple. That is actually what, neutral statement. When you say what, I really like apple, that is actually what, very positive statement, right? So the NLP is really capable to what, do that. Let's see how to do that, right? So in order to do that, obviously we have what, the pipeline with us. So what you have to do, let me simply add what, 2 properties. One is actually what, parse. Another one is called what, sentiment. So once that is added, I'm going to create the new class called sentiment analysis. Sentiment analysis, right? The class is actually what, created, right? So now what we're going to do, we actually what, going to introduce the public static void main method. Public static void main method. So here obviously we have to get the pipeline instance, right? How to get it? Pipeline dot get pipeline. So I'm going to create the variable, reference variable, Stanford Core NLP Stanford, right? We got the pipeline object, right? So once that is done, we have to mention the text. I'm going to create what, string text equal to, I'm going to say, hello, this is John. I don't like this place, right? Now if you look at it, there is a two sentence available, right? Hello, this is John. This is one sentence. I don't like this place. Actually, what this is the second sentence. Both are actually seems to be what neutral sentiment, right? Let's see how to get that output. So I'm gonna put these text into the code document equal to new code document, right? I'm gonna pass this text as an argument. Once that is actually done, so what I'm gonna do, I have to annotate this code document, right? How with a pipeline. I have to do that. Stanford core NLP dot annotate. I'm gonna pass the code document that we have. Once that is done, so I have to get the sentence from this text. We have the paragraph text you can consider. Now we have to take a sentence in order to perform the sentiment analysis, right? How to get the sentence? I'm gonna get the sentence by using code document dot sentence. This method actually will give you the list of core sentence instance. I'm gonna get the list of core sentence. I'm gonna call them as actually sentences, right? Let me import this list from java.rel package. Okay, that is imported. Okay, now we can get the list of sentence from the given text. Great. So once we have the list of sentences, I'm gonna do the iteration using the for each sentences. So that's going to have core sentence, right? Now let me quickly call the method called sentence dot. You have a method called sentiment. If you call this sentiment method, that will give you the string output. It says whether the particular statement is negative, positive, neutral, or very positive, very negative, right? Let's see what is going to happen. So I'm going to get this string. I'm going to store it as the sentiment, right? So let me do sys out. I'm going to say I'm going to store the sentiment plus tab plus the sentence itself, right? So let me run this program. We'll see what is going to happen. So what is our current text? Hello, this is John. Then I don't like this place, right? Let me run this. We'll see what is going to happen. Here we go. We got the output. It says there is a two sentence. One is hello, this is John. Another one is I don't like this place. Both seems to be the neutral sentiment for the core NLP, right? According to the core NLP, right? So now what I'm going to do, I'm going to do the slight modification in the sentence. I'm going to say hello, this is John, right? I'm going to say that I really don't like this place. So when I say I really don't like this place, this is completely the negative statement, right? Now let's see how the sentiment analysis behave for this particular sentence. Let me quickly run this example. We'll see what is going to happen. Here we go. We got an output. The core NLP says that there is a two different sentence. One is hello, this is John, which seems to be neutral, and I really don't like this place, which is completely the negative statement, right? So we can use this sentiment analysis in many business use cases, such as customer feedback and the employee feedback, then product review. So a lot of places we can use the sentiment analysis in order to predict whether the statement is negative, positive, or neutral, or very positive, or and so on. Let me give you a quick idea what exactly we're going to do for the rest of the tutorial. We're going to develop the API using Spring Boot application, and then we're going to use NLP in order to extract the person information, city information, using the concept called NER, that is named entity recognizer. So also we're going to develop the UI where we'll perform the same activity using actually the multiple options. So how to extract the person from the text, how to extract the email ID from the text, we're going to do that example in the Spring Boot application. There are a lot of things to do. Let's quickly begin. I have IntelliJ ID with me, so I'm going to click create new project. Click on it. Once you did, that will show you the new pop-up window with the available options. So I'm going to select the option called Spring Initializer, which will enable us to create the Spring Boot application. So in the group ID, I'm going to mention the group ID actually com.Dinesh Krish. Then artifact ID is going to be NER application. So when I say NER, named entity recognizer -application. Remaining option you can leave it as it is. If you want to be, for example, you can give a more description about your project. I'm gonna say NER example with Spring Boot. Why? So given next, then you can see what there are a lot of modules available in the Spring Boot. So the module which I'm considering as of now, it's actually what the web module. So select the web module, and then I want a web module to be added into my project, as well as for the template engine I want to use what theme life, because we are planning for a UI for this application, right? So I would like to go with what the theme leaf template engine. So give a next. So what give a finish. Okay, cool, we successfully created the new project. So here you can see what one Maven Spring Boot application is created called ner-application. Okay, so now what we're gonna do, just go to what source folder. Now you can see what, yes, the Spring Boot main class actually what created. So now since we are trying to perform what natural entity recognition along with the Spring Boot application, right? So obviously we have to add a dependency to our project. When I say dependency, we have to add what the core NLP dependency to our project, right? So to do that, what I'm going to do, I'm going to what add a dependency to our Spring Boot application. So the dependency perspective, we have to add what these two dependency. One is actually from what one is actually what edu.stanford.nlp group id, then artifact should be what Stanford-core NLP, then same. Okay, it's the same we added, and then we are saying what classifier equals model. So these two dependencies should added. These two dependencies should be added in our project. Okay, once that is done, okay, I think we are good to develop what our application. So what I'm gonna do, I'm actually what going to create a new class. I'm gonna call this class actually what ner controller. Okay, but before going to create a class, I'm going to create a package. Inside this package, I'm going to create one more package called controller. Okay, in the controller package, I'm going to create a class called ner controller. So what exactly this controller is going to do in the sense, okay, the controller is going to get a text from the client, and then it's going to analyze the text, and then it's going to what perform the ner against what the test that we passed. Okay, so that is the whole idea about this controller. So obviously we have to mark this controller as what REST controller, right? And then we have to configure what request mapping. So I'm going to configure the request mapping by passing the value should be what /API/version1, right? So that is my first version 1 API, so that we are trying to do. So now what I'm going to do, I'm going to create what one new method. I'm going to call this method actually what ner, the method actually what ner. Okay, so method actually going to take what two argument. One is actually what this input, I would say what that is the actual text that we're going to analyze, and then one more input actually what the type. Okay, so I would say what type. So when I say type, I want to create a enum. Okay, so since we don't have a enum, we're going to create the enum. So I want to pass the type, so both has to be final. Okay, I don't want to change it once we received it. Okay, and then I want this method to return what the list of string. Okay, so import the list. Then I want this method to be available what publicly. Okay, so we'll create what the type enum. So I'm going to create what the new package. I'm going to call this package actually what kind of model. Inside this model package, I'm going to create what the new enum. Okay, the enum name is going to be what type, as I mentioned. Okay, so we created the enum. Okay, we will decide what should come inside this type enum. Okay, let me import this type. Now it has to be import from what com.ner application model package, right? So that is actually got imported, so we're kind of good now. So obviously we have to return something, right? So as of now I'm trying to return, okay, the null. Okay, we will write our logic here. So what is the whole idea? So we need to get what, input from the user, from the client, or whatever you can say that. Okay, so and then we want to get what, type. Okay, so I want this input from the request body. Okay, and then I want this type should from what, the request param. I would like to what, pass this type value in the query parameter. Okay, we will see how to do that. And then I want to annotate this particular a method, actually what, post mapping. So I want it to be what, post mapping. Okay, and then in the request mapping I'm gonna say the value for this one is going to be /ner. That's it. Okay, the idea is very simple. We have a method which is going to return what, the list, and then the method actually taking two arguments. One is input, the text input text that we're going to analyze, and then what, the type that you want to extract. So when I say type, for example, consider if I'm passing what, some text, the text actually what, city, name, person, and then what, a country, then email address. I want to extract only that specific information from the given text. I want to return it as what, list. That is the overall idea, right? So for our application, so we so far what, introduced the new method. In order to perform what, the NER, obviously we have to set up what, the pipeline. When I say pipeline, we need to configure few things. Okay, and then we need to use what is, same in order to what, perform the NER. Okay, let's see how to do that. Okay, I'm going to create the new package. I'm going to call this package actually what, a core. Okay, inside this package I'm going to create a class called what, pipeline. Okay, I'm going to call this class actually what, pipeline. So basically this class is going to be a singleton class where I would like to get an instance of what, Stanford core NLP instance, right? To do that, what I'm going to do, I'm going to introduce what, few variable. I'll say static properties. I'll say what, properties. Okay, then private static, I'll say what, string. Okay, properties name. Okay, the properties name should be, okay, in order to perform the NER, we have to add a few properties. We have to enable few properties in the core NLP. I'll tell you what are all those. So one is actually what, tokenize, SS split, that is a sentence split, then POS, parts of speech, then lemmatization, then NER. Okay, you need what, in order to perform the NER, these are all what, dependent properties that we have to enable in the core NLP pipeline, right? So now what I'm going to do, I'm going to create what, one more static a reference variable. So that is what, Stanford core NLP. I'm going to call what, Stanford core NLP. Okay, so here I want to make this constructor actually what, private. So make the constructor actually what, private. So obviously we did all these things in our previous videos as well. So static, right? In the static block, what I want to do, I want to what, create an instance for this properties. So properties equal to new properties, right? Then I want to set annotators to this property, right? So the property instance is created, we have to what, set a property, right? So properties dot, I'm gonna have a method called what, a property set property. Inside the set property method, I'm gonna pass what, annotators, properties name. That's all, right? So we created the property. Now we have to pass this property to what, our Stanford core NLP instance, right? Maybe constructor, in order to create what, the instance of the Stanford core NLP, right? Since we want it to be what, the singleton, so I'm going to create what, public static Stanford core NLP. Okay, I'm going to say what, get instance. Okay, so here I'm going to say what, if the Stanford core NLP is equal to null. If it is not available already, that time what I'm going to do, I'm going to create what Stanford core NLP equal to, I'm creating the new instance of what Stanford core NLP by passing what the properties that we have. Okay, we did that. Now what I'm going to do, if it is not a null, always I'll return what the Stanford core NLP. So since it's a static, so obviously what we can get what always one instance if it is initialized what at least one time, right? So that's a core idea behind it. So now let's focus on what how to use this Stanford core NLP instance in our NER controller in order to perform what the named entity recognizer, right? So to do that, what I'm going to do, I'm going to introduce what the reference variable of Stanford core NLP. Okay, I want it to be what auto wire, so that I'm going to say what auto wired. But if you look at it, it's actually what showing some error, right? That means what we want this class this object to be injected in order to perform in our method, in order to use them in our method, but it says that I can't inject this object because this particular pipeline class has to be what service. Okay, you have to make it as what you have to make it as the service annotator, and apart from that, who exactly going to what create this object for you, right? So this is the method who's responsible to create what the Stanford core NLP instance for us, right, in a singleton basis, right? So in order to do that, what you have to do, you have to annotate it as what bean. Okay, I'm going to name it as what name equal to I'm going to say what Stanford core NLP. That's it. When you did this, probably you can see what there is no error. So now this object can be what auto wired during the Spring Boot startup, right? So now we are kind of fine to use this instance in order to perform what NER in our application, right? So to do that, what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna simply what perform core document. Okay, code document equal to new code document, right? In the code document, I'm going to pass what the input text that we have, because that is the text that we want to analyze, right? So here what I want to do, I need a Stanford instance, right? So we have a Stanford instance already. So Stanford instance dot, I'm going to do what annotate, right, code document that we have, right? After this, what we have to do, so once we have a text, right, the text should be converted to what the tokens. Then the same token can be analyzed in order to get what the NER, right, the named entity recognizer. So to do that, what I'm going to do, core document dot, we have a method called tokens, which is going to return you what the list of core label, right? So I'm going to create what one local variable. I'm going to call it as what list of core labels. Okay, so I'm going to call it as what core labels. That's it. Now let's include what type into our enum, right, that we created. So go to the type. So I'm going to what add a few type. I'm going to say what a type called what person. In the text I want to extract only the person. Okay, then I want to extract the city, then I want to extract the state, province, country, email, then title. Okay, so these are all actually available in the core NLP library. That means what you can extract the person from the text, city, state or province, country, email, and title. So you can extract more, you have few more, but as part of this tutorial I'm considering only what these types. Okay, the thing is what here I'm going to say what city. In the province I'm going to pass what a state or province. Okay, I'm going to pass what country, email, Then finally the title is nothing but what, job title. So finally I'm going to say what, title. So here, since what, we are trying to pass string as an argument, so obviously we need a constructor, right? So actually what, I'm creating the constructor called, type. So in the constructor I'm passing what, string type. I want to set this type to the instance variable. Since we don't have an instance, so variable, we have to create that. Private string type. And then we need a method to what, get the name name of this type. I'm gonna call this method actually what, get name. So which is generally going to return a string. Yes, obviously this method is public method. Okay, so here what I'm gonna do, return type that we have. Okay, very simple. We created the type. Okay, we added all the types into our enum, right? Now let's what, write up one more method to extract only this type, right, from the text. Okay, so basically what we're trying to do, so whatever input we pass, consider that is the text, whatever type we pass, for example, if I want to extract only the person, in the text I want to extract only the person name as a list. So that's my whole idea, right? So in order to do that, of course, I'm going to create one private method, because this can be a common method. List of string it's going to return. So basically that is a list of a collected list, right? Collected list from the given text. So I'm going to pass what, the core label list. Okay, I'm going to call core labels, and apart from that I'm going to pass what, the type that we receive from the client, right? So it's going to return. So since we are getting this core labels, I want to perform what, stream from Java 8 API stream, and then it's going to be filter. In the filter I'm going to say what, core label we have, right? So type that we receive, from the type I want to get the name. Okay, if it is equals, ignore case, right? Equal ignore case, core label. Let me maximize the screen. Core label dot get. Okay, here I'm gonna pass, in order to what, perform the NER, we have to use what, we have to pass this class, right? Okay, what is the class? Core annotation, annotations dot name the entity tag annotation class. Okay, dot class. So since it will give us what, the core label, from the core label we want only the actual text, right? So I'm going to use what, one more stream API method called what, map. In the core label I want to get only what, original text, not all of them. I want to collect it as what, collect it as what, collected dot to list. Okay, now what we're trying to do basically, we have this core label. In the core label we are trying to what, perform the named entity recognizer. Okay, we want to filter only what, the type that we pass. If it is a person, that will fetch as a person. If it is a city, it will fetch what, city. And then it will give you the core label object. From the core label object, in order to get the actual text, you have to call this method. So I'm calling using what, the map function. Then finally I'm collecting them as a list. I want to return same. Very simple. Now what I want to do, I want to call this method, right? So now if you look at it, consider if you have a city, for example Berlin, it's available 2 times in your text, but we want to show only once, in a sense, probably I can suggest you to what, return a set instead of what, list, right? Set will remove the duplication, right? So I'll call this method, collect list, where I can pass what, core labels as well as what, type that we receive, right? So in this case I have to what, change the return type. Instead of list, I'm going to make it as what, set. Whenever we receive what, text, and then when we receive the type, we are passing the text to what, core document. Then we are annotating that core document. Then we are, from the core document, we are getting what, we are tokenizing the string. We are passing the tokenized list to what, this method in order to perform the NER. In the NER I want to retrieve only what, the type, specific type. So that is finally going to give us a list. The list may have the duplication, so I'm passing this list into what, set, so that we can avoid the duplication. So finally we are returning set to what, our clients when they call this method. So now it's time to test whether our API is working fine or not, right? So to do that, obviously what I'm going to do, I'm going to run the Spring Boot application. Okay, let me run the NER application. Here we go. The application actually started successfully. Now we have a postman with us. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to use the postman in order to test this, right? So to do that, what I'm going to do, I'm actually going to mention the URL. So what is the URL? So for our application, so this is the URL, right? So that is running inside localhost 8080 in my local. So what is the URL? API/version1/NER. That's a a URL, right? So let me actually enter the URL, http, okay, localhost :8080, okay, slash, it's going to be API/version/ it's going to be API/version1/NER, right? In the NER, okay, since the method actually post method that we created, so make sure the post is selected, right? In the NER, what I'm going to do, I have to pass type, right? Here you can see so I'm trying to pass the type as person, right? So I'm going to pass the text to plain. Okay, so my text is going to be this is Dinesh. Okay, that's my text. So let me simply invoke this API. We'll see what is going to happen. Here we go. Now you can see that this is the text that we passed. What is the text? This is Dinesh. Inside this, in this text, I want my core NLP to analyze and then retrieve me only the persons that are available in the text. You can see there is only one person is available. That's what it's returned Dinesh. Okay, it's given me as a list. Okay, now what I'm going to do, I'm going to say this is Dinesh and my friend name is Robert. Now if you look at it, there is a 2 person. So let's see whether we are getting 2 person in the list or not. Okay, here we go. We are getting 2 person. Okay, let's try some other example. Let's try I'm going to say this is Dinesh. Okay, I'll say I'm from India. Okay, so now if you look at it, still I want to retrieve only the person. So instead of person, I'm going to say I want to retrieve country. Yes. So if you run this, now you can see the country is India. We received country. So now if we can see our API is working as expected. Now let's focus how to create the UI for our application. In order to create the UI, so obviously you go to the IntelliJ. I'm going to start this application. If you remember, we actually added the theme leaf actually as our template system. So let's see how to develop the UI for this particular application, right? So in the resource folder, now you can see there is a folder called template, right? Inside the templates folder, I'm going to simply introduce the new HTML file called index.html. okay, very simple HTML5 page. Okay, here I'm going to say this is going to be NER application. Okay, named entity recognizer application. Okay, in the head I want to include few the library. Maybe as part of this example, I'm going to use the Bootstrap as well as jQuery library to create the UI. Okay, so obviously I need to link the Bootstrap, so I have to do that. Link rel, I'm going to say it's a style sheet href, and then I'm going to give the CDN link for the Bootstrap. Okay, that is the CDN link. You can actually get it from the internet. Okay, even I can actually attach this in the video description. You can use the same. Okay, and after that we have to add the jQuery a JavaScript file, right? So to do that, obviously use script. Inside the script, I'm going to say type. It's going to be text/JavaScript src. I'm actually going to use actually the CDN location for the jQuery library, right? So the script also is added. Now let's focus on creating the page. Now what I'm going to do, I'm actually going to what, create the division, okay, in the division, or else form, okay, kind of form, okay. Inside the form I'm going to say what, division, okay. Inside the div I'm going to say what, the class is going to be the container, right? Here I'm going to have what, two different area. One is actually what, input, another one is actually what, output, okay. Another one is going to be output, okay. So for the input, what I want, basically I want one text area, okay, where the user can type their text, and then I want one drop down where they can select what type they want to extract from the text, okay. In the output we will show the final output, okay. That is an idea, okay. We will call the API, then API will give us a list, and finally we'll show that one in what, the output. That's an idea. So to do that, obviously what, I'm gonna introduce what, the text area first of all. So to do that, div, I'm gonna use the class called what, form group. There is a class called what, form group, okay. So the division, inside the division I'm gonna say what, label for, it's going to be input, okay. So I'm going to say what, the label is going to be enter your text here, okay. That is the label, okay. Then obviously we need a text area, right? So in order to create the text area, right, it's going to be id equal to input, so that is my id, okay. Class equal to, I'm gonna say what, form hyphen control, right? So the name of the text, we don't need a name. Maybe what, I can say what, rows should be what, 3, okay, or 4. So that is a typical text area. Then what I want one drop down, right, where the user can select the type that they want to extract from the given text. Obviously we need one more in a control, so that should be what, the drop down. So class, I'm gonna say what, form group, okay. Inside the form group it's going to be what, label for equal to, it's going to be a type. I'm gonna call that is actually going to be what, type, okay. It's going to be what, select type, okay. So obviously we're going to what, introduce what, the select control, a class. I'm gonna say what, form a control, okay. I'm gonna give a id as what, type, okay, because this id should be what, type. Inside the select, okay, what I want to do, I just want to what, add options, option, okay, option value, it's going to be what, empty. Here I'm gonna say what, select type, okay. So now how many type we have in our type? We have what, 1 2 3 4 5 6, right? We have a 6 type, so we need what, 6 option in our UI. So 1 2 3 4 5 6, right? This is going to be, first is going to be what, person, what, the second is going to be city. Now if you want to extract the city you can do that. The third is going to be a state or province. I'll say what, state or province, okay. The fourth one is going to be a country. Then this is going to be a title. So when I say title, what, this is going to be a job title. So basically your NLP can extract the job title. For example, the software engineer, consultant, the developer, printer, these are all what, job title, right? That can be extracted by using what, NLP. In order to do that you have to type as what, title, okay. So that is possible. So and then what I'm gonna do, I want to retrieve what, email, if there is a email, if there are any emails in my a given text, okay. So obviously we have to pass what, the necessary value, right? So in the capital letter, person, city, state, or else we can use the same state or province, put it here, country, then obviously it's going to be a title, then email. Okay, so we kind of created everything, and then finally we want one division where we would like to show our result, right? So I'm going to say division, then I'm going to call class equal to form group, okay. So and then the ID of this division is going to be results. Generally I want to populate my final result to this particular division. Okay, so basically this is the input area, this is output area. Very simple, right? So now let's see how our UI actually look like. Let me quickly run this application. We'll see what will be the output in the browser. Here we go, our application is started successfully. Now let's see how our UI looks like in the browser. Okay, to do that, obviously enter this URL localhost :8080. Now you can see we have two area. One is the input, another one is output. In the input you can actually type a text whatever you want, and then whatever you want to analyze you can actually select in the drop down, right? Since we didn't actually make the service call it, we'll actually do it by writing some JavaScript. Okay, so to do that, obviously go back to your index.html page. Let me start this application. Here what I'm gonna do, I am actually kind of going to create once method, JavaScript method. Okay, so type equal to JavaScript. Right here I'm going to introduce a method called function ner. Okay, this is actually going to take type. Okay, so in order to pass the type, what we have to do, obviously, so we have to call this function in our select method, right? So when I'm gonna call this method, in the sense I'm going to call this method whenever we do on change on this drop down. Okay, I'm gonna call. So what is the value I want to pass? I want to pass this dot value. That means when I say this dot value, okay, so I would like to pass whatever value we selected in the drop down, right? That value I want to pass it to this function. Consider we will receive that value. Okay, once we receive that value, what I want to do, I want to retrieve the text. Okay, whatever the user actually given as an input, right? So I'm going to create the new variable. Okay, in order to retrieve the text, okay, I'm going to retrieve the text from the ID of input dot val. So basically this is ID is nothing but this one. For example, whenever you type anything in this text box, in the text area, we can actually retrieve it, and then we can store it in this variable. Okay, that is an idea. Okay, once you got a value, so since consider you got a value, you got actually a type. So what is pending? You have to make the service call. So to do that, I'm going to use Ajax that is available in the jQuery. Okay, so to do that, $Ajax. Okay, inside this Ajax, I'm going to actually add few attributes. So the type of the the service call actually post, obviously the post method, then the URL of the API. So what is the URL? The URL actually will be available in our Postman, right? Let me copy the same URL. This is our exact URL where the services are available. Okay, now paste this URL. I want to pass this type dynamically, right? Instead of actually passing hard-coded, I'm gonna actually we are receiving the type, I'm gonna pass type here. That's it, type here, right? So now we can pass the type that we are receiving it in the a selection from the user. So once that is done, obviously we have to set the content type, content type. The content type is going to be text/plain. Okay, character set equal to UTF-8. So that is the content type for our API. I mean, see, literally we are passing the text, plain text as an input, right? So here what I'm going to do, the data is nothing but what, the input that we receive from the user, right? So the input, so that is the input. So then we, once what, we make the service call, we'll get the response, right? The response, I would like to what, the response we will receive it in what, the success state. So I want to write one callback function, right? The callback function literally what, give a response, right? Once you have a response, what I want to do, where I want to introduce where result equal to empty string. Okay, I want to perform the for each against what, the response that we have. Each response I want to create what, one callback function. The function actually takes two arguments. One is actually what, an index of the array, because if you look at it, if you see our API, right, we will receive what, the list of string, right? So we want to iterate and then we want to show it in a presentable manner. So that's what, I'm trying to iterate this response, using the for each method that's available in the jQuery. Okay, now passing what, the actual value. Now what I'm going to do, a result, we have a result. I want to what, kind of append the same result with the string. I'm going to say what, span class. Okay, the class that I'm going to use, it's a bootstrap class. I'm going to say span class. The class is going to be batch hyphen success. Okay, that is the class available in the bootstrap. Okay, so here what I'm going to do, I want to actually what, append the value that we get it. Apart from then I want to close what, this span. Then let me give what, okay. So each and every span I want to give what, one what do you call, the space. So to give a space, what I'm gonna do, ampersand NBSP, right? So that will actually what, kind of create a space, right, between what, each element. I want to load this result in the result ID as HTML. So let me pass what, this result that we have. Okay, so now let me save this. Let's see what is gonna happen. Okay, let me save this. Let me rerun this application. We'll see what is gonna happen. Here we go, our application is started successfully. Now let's go back to what, our browser. We'll see what is gonna happen, right? So I just refreshed our application. Okay, here what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna simply do what, this is Dinesh. Okay, let me select only what, the person. We'll see what's gonna happen. Cool, we are getting what, the Dinesh actually what, extracted, and then what, it's from the text, given text, and then what, we were able to get the outputs. Okay, now let's try with what, some other input. I'm gonna say what, hey, hello everyone, my name is Dinesh Krishnan. Okay, I am from Chennai, India. Okay, I'm a software developer and consultant, right? Feel free to reach me via dineshk.training@gmail.com. See, if you look at it, we have this text, right? What you are trying to understand, we have two names here, Dinesh and Krishnan. We have city, Chennai is the city basically, and then India, country. Then developer, consultant, actually what, these are all actually what, job title obviously. Okay, and then feel free to reach me via what, this mail ID. So this is the mail ID, right? So now let's try all the scenario. Let's see whether this is working fine or not, right? So now I want to retrieve the city. Yes, Chennai is a city. I want to retrieve what, country. Yes, India is a country. Now I want to return the job title. Can you see that, developer and consultant? Obviously that is happening. I want to retrieve the email from the given text. Cool, that is happening. I want to retrieve the person from the text. Cool, that is happening. Krishnan as well as Dinesh. I believe you got a very good idea how to use natural language processing as part of any application. This is one type of demo. This is a one demo application where we create a simple Spring Boot application. We included the NLP feature in our application. So I hope this was very helpful. Thanks for watching.